Yo, what's up guys? This is Sup Gaming here with a great video. So, I know I've been very inactive recently. The problem is I've just been bored of video games. But I've wanted to do real life videos. I just didn't know what to do, what would be easiest. I finally found out something I would probably end up doing. It's not... I'm basically going to Morrow Mountain State Park. I'm a volunteer there. I will be going all the way through Morrow Mountain State Park and talking to you about the historical, archaeological, whatever that word means, and the nature of Morrow Mountain State Park and all the history of it. I spend about 50 hours I'd say 50 hours a month at Morrow Mountain State Park. 40 of those hours are me volunteering there. Then the extra 10 hours are just me doing photography and other stuff there. So I'll just be chilling. And we're gonna drive over to Morrow Mountain State Park and I'll explain some historical stuff when I get there. Peace. So guys, we just arrived, so today I'm back, so over there behind. So guys, this is one of the spots that I'm going to stop at, and here I'm just going to talk about some of the animals that live in this area and the ecosystem that's in this area. So Morrow Mountain not only is in the Uwharrie mountain range, but it also is right on the Yadkin River. And the Yadkin River is one of the biggest river systems in this area because the Yadkin River flows into the Petey River, which flows into the ocean. So it's just got an absolutely massive river. It's got tons of streams that run through the park. That allows for a very diverse ecosystem, tons of animals. Where you see me standing right here is one of the biggest areas in which deer will graze and eat. There's tons of grass over here, and I haven't seen this much grass pretty much anywhere else in the park. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen this much grass really anywhere else in the park. It's a bunch of short grass, and the deer love to eat it, and they graze on it. So there's tons of deer out here. I've seen a herd of 16 deer just a couple days ago. This is at the beginning or end, depending on which direction you go to, on the quarry trail. And something that we like to say here at the park is don't kill any animal, don't take anything out of the park, don't destroy anything in the park. And the reason for that, the reason all these rules exist in the park is because those rules are incredibly important. Now I'll just give a brief story to explain that. Back a long time ago, back in the Yellowstone National Park, there were wolves, there were elk, and everyone was afraid of all the wolves in that area. So they hunted the wolves out of there to protect their cattle, to protect their children. So then after the wolves got completely hunted out of almost the entire continental United States, so that's not including Alaska, that's just on the continent, the United States that's on the continent, wolves have basically been completely hunted out of. And when they got hunted out of Yellowstone National Park, the elk population skyrocketed. So the elk population was massive in Yellowstone Park, and they started to eat away at all the grass and weeds that ran along the river that flowed through that park. So then the river's banks started to collapse into the river because there was no roots to hold them in. So then they had to reintroduce wolves back into that park, and it basically saved the ecosystem because the wolves ate the elk and then the elk population went down, and the river didn't turn into a swamp, which it very well would have if the wolves weren't reintroduced.
That is why it's so important to leave what you find in the park, not take anything out of the park, not kill anything in the park. But every single animal, every single plant is important to the park's ecosystem. And if you take those out, if you remove them, if you kill them, eventually there will be none left. And then that will hurt other species, and every other species on the planet is affected when you kill one animal. There will be none left. And then that will hurt other species, and every other species on the planet is affected when you kill one animal. It's a ripple effect that affects everything on the planet. That might be not that big of a deal, it might not matter too much to most of the animals, but it'll still affect them in just teeny small ways that most of the time we humans don't even realize. But the park has a very diverse ecosystem. It has turtles, it has all kinds of reptiles, turtles, snakes, it has what's it called? It has rattlesnakes. I forget the name of the exact rattlesnake, I knew it, I forgot it. It has copperheads. It has all kinds of non-venomous snakes as well, all kinds of garden snakes. The park has all kinds of lizards. It also has skinks that live in the water. It has deer. It has bobcats occasionally that come through here, not very often, but there are occasional bobcats. But you will almost never see the bobcats here at the park because they're very elusive, whereas the deer population is massive.
It has skinks that live in the water. It has deer. It has bobcats occasionally that come through here, not very often, but there are occasional bobcats. But you will almost never see the bobcats here at the park because they're very elusive, whereas the deer population is massive and you can see the deer all the time. They're used to humans. You can drive right up next to them and just take pictures of them. It's very easy to photograph the deer here at the park. But in the river, there's massive catfish. I'm talking about 15-pound catfish. There are carp, massive carp, 15-pound carp. There are all kinds of animals here at the park that we're trying to protect. There's all kinds of plants that feed those animals. So it's a very diverse ecosystem. And if you're looking for those animals, a good thing to think about is what do those animals need to survive. So if you're looking for deer, to photograph deer, in the rain season, this quarry trail is a great place to see deer, because not only is there tons of grass and plants they can eat here, there's also a massive stream system. There's two streams that flow together and connect here on the quarry trail. And in the rain season, those streams will feed just tons and tons of deer with water. There's also a seasonal swampland, which is filled with all kinds of animals in the rain season, because there's skinks in there. There's probably occasional turtles that come through there. There are snakes to eat the frogs. There are snakes to eat the skinks and all those smaller creatures. So then hawks and owls come in to eat the snakes. And there's also rats that run through all these open fields and grass here. So then the owls will feed on those. So we just got here and we're a couple minutes away from where I wanted to be, but we found a black snake, and you might be able to see this. It looks like he was eating a frog, and you can see the frog right there. There's the frog, and that snake was actually eating it. That was awesome to see, because I've never seen a snake eating something before. I'm going to leave him alone now so he can come back and finish his frog meal. So what's up, guys? This is Sup Gaming. I'm back, and you can see to your right there is a beautiful vernal pool. What that means is it's basically a seasonal swampland. That's what I was talking about earlier. Just a minute ago, you got to see a black racer, is what we believe it was, and that black racer was just thumping its tail on the ground. That means it felt threatened. I thought it was a rattlesnake at first because it was making a rattlesnake sound. It was almost sounding like a rattle. It was just thumping its tail on the ground. But that black racer was in the middle of literally eating his meal. He was eating a frog, which is absolutely crazy, guys. That's very rare that you get to see a rattlesnake, not a rattlesnake, any snake at all, eating a meal. That's very, very rare. I'm glad I got to include that on my video. But then to my right, to your left, this is your right, this is your left, I think. Yeah, this is your left. So to your left, there is a beautiful cliffside. This cliffside is not natural. It was used by the CCC to mine argillite. The CCC was an organization created by the president of that time. I believe it might have been Theodore Roosevelt. And it was created during the Great Depression, just after the Great Depression, when everyone was coming back from World War II. And this was back when the Great Depression was starting to get over, and the economy was starting to bounce back. And it was a program that was made by the government, and basically its purpose was to build things, was to build state parks, and all kinds of different outdoor things, but mostly parks is what they did. And they helped build this park as well. So back a long time ago, there was a man named James Morrow who donated most of the land to Morrow Mountain State Park. And that is where Morrow Mountain State Park got its name. It got its name from a man named James Morrow. He donated most of the land to this area, to this park. And the CCC came in and they built all kinds of things. They built a lodge, which now the park office is also attached to. And they also built barracks for them to sleep in. They built their own barracks and their own sleeping places. They built all kinds of things all throughout the park. They built a pool. They built all kinds of different buildings, bathrooms. They built the boathouse a long, long time ago, since it's been rebuilt. But the CCC came in and they started mining all this rock to your left, which is called argillite. And this argillite is a great rock to be mining for what it was used for, because it was used to build stonework in the park. And the way this rock splits is it splits almost completely flat. And the reason that's good is because then you can easily stack the rocks on top of each other. And the CCC got all of its rock it needed right here locally. It didn't import anything, it cut back costs a lot. So not only did the CCC build, but they gathered all the materials they needed to build. And what they didn't gather themselves, they bought with the government's credit card or whatever. And the government paid for. But most of what they needed, they mined and they cut down trees or whatever they needed to build it. And then they built it all by themselves, which is really amazing. And something else that's amazing, this is a very sensitive topic, this was wrong, but most of the CCC was segregated at the time, although it was one of the first programs that was not supposed to be segregated. So a lot of the CCC was segregated due to terrible racism that was in that day. The racism was terrible, it's bad. It was a terrible thing that people did and they believed. But it was segregation back in the day. But a large part of the CCC was also not segregated. And that is amazing and that is good, even though some of it was not. Because the CCC was one of the first programs in its day that was not supposed to be segregated. And that's amazing. I'm so happy for that. And the CCC actually helped move, as one of the, it helped move the country out of segregation. It's one of the first programs of its kind that were not segregated. So that's awesome. I'm so happy that that happened. And you can see, and I'm going to come over there and show you just how massive this cliff is. There's even more rock that they mined out of here. But all of this stonework along this side, all of that cliff, that's all argillite. It goes down right about to there, and then it cuts off and turns into a hill. But they mined all of this rock and stone out of here. Not only that, they dug down to the rock and stone. And that is why it's called the quarry trail, because this was a quarry used by the CCC. So that is why it's called the quarry trail. It's called the quarry trail because it was mined out by the CCC. I do not remember what the CCC stands for, sadly. A lot of you adults or people or kids knowledgeable of this stuff probably do know what it stands for. I used to know it. I just happened to forget it because I haven't talked about it in a long time. But I think this would be a great time to talk about my YouTube channel. This is going to be the end of the historical and fun fact tour. I'm not going to be talking about history or nature anymore. I'm just going to be filming my trail. So if all you came for was the history of this trail, then you can end it right here. I'm going to continue to talk about my YouTube channel and my interests in what I'm going to be doing with my YouTube channel. Because if you're a new viewer, then you probably don't know I've been very inactive for a long time. I think the last video I posted was over 2 months ago. So I'm just going to take a minute and explain that. Back in the day, I used to do video games and I was a big video gamer. I probably will continue to do video games every now and then. But I'm not going to do that as much anymore. If I decide to continue my YouTube channel, I want to continue my YouTube channel, and this is one of the series that I'm going to be doing. But if I can't think of anything else after this series is over, then I'm going to end up having to go inactive for another long time until I can think of something that I can talk about and I can do videos on. Because a long time ago, I could not do real life videos. I was too young at the time and my parents didn't want me to. I always wanted to do real life videos. I never really wanted to do video games to begin with. I don't think that's really respectable. I understand why people play video games. I don't think it's respectable to play video games as a full-time job. And I know there's hundreds of people that do, thousands of people that do. They make a great living off of it. But I just can't do that. I don't want to be making a life for myself, a living, off of sitting on the couch eating potato chips while I stare at a big plastic screen. I will continue to play video games when I'm bored or when I don't have anything to do, but what all I'm saying right now is I don't think I should be spending as much time on video games as I do to produce YouTube content. Because when I'm producing video game content for my YouTube, I'm spending probably about 4 hours a day to 5 hours a day on computers, if not more. Because I need to practice so that I can produce good content. Not only that, I broadcast for like 2 hours at a time. Not only that, if I make a video, I have to edit for like an hour or 2 hours. So I don't want to be spending all that time on screens and computers. I want to spend that out in the real world. I just don't know what to do out in the real world for YouTube. There's tons of stuff I do all the time. The question is what do I record? But going forward, I'll probably record a video at least twice a month of this series of me taking a tour through Morrow Mountain, explaining to you all the nature, all the geography of the place, all of the archaeology, all of the history of the place. And yeah, I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. I know a lot about it. I'm a volunteer here at Morrow Mountain. I do this kind of stuff all the time. I know a lot of the rangers here. I've led several programs on my own. If you look online at state parks, they will list a bunch of programs that they're doing, and that's basically educational programs and interpretative programs. It's called IE, interpretive, and educational. I'm not going to explain what that means. There's tons of programs, and I have co-led some of those with the park ranger. I've also led some of those on my own. I know a lot about the park, and I think this is a great series for me to be doing. Something else I'll probably end up doing every now and then is when I do go on a camping trip. I don't go on a camping trip often. I want to go on them more often. Sadly,